And now, time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on the Man of Steel podcast.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.
You get where you feel like you can rush the quarterback. You understand? Yeah. Rush the quarterback. Bangs in for the touchdown, and there's the coup de grace.
Do you have room in the trophy for another one there? You got 6 of them. Now you're the winningest franchise in NFL history.
We'll make room.
And welcome again, everybody, to another edition here of the Man of Steel podcast. With yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey, as we're kicking it live here. It's a prime time edition right now. If you guys want, feel free to call in throughout the duration of this show. Again, the number is 312-209-2232. Again, that number is 312-209-2232. You can follow me once again on social media, on my Twitter and Instagram, at Prodigy Richey, on Deck CSR. For the Man of Steel podcast, it is at Man of Steel CJR, and on Instagram at Man of Steel Nation. Quite a few things to get into that are significant right now as it pertains to the preseason right now. As it was announced recently that the NFL has decided to cut its preseason in half right now. The only biggest problem with that right now, the NFL Players Association have yet to sign off on that, along with some locker room safety. How big will that be? Will we not see any preseason at all? And what will that translate into the start of the season? We got legendary Hall of Fame coach Bill Cowher, who actually did an interview with Ed Bouchette of The Athletic, written down how he believes the league, if there will be a season, if it should be played with everything going on. And plus, he even shares like a little story how him and his wife Veronica recently, this past near the middle of March, how he came down with COVID along with his wife. Everybody seems to be doing okay right now, but let's get right into it. So again, I hope everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday so far. Can't believe it's already the first day of July right now. We are 3 days away from the 4th with everything that has been going on. And also the Man of Steel podcast continues to support all the efforts right now as we try overall as a society, especially with arms and locksteps with Black Lives Matters. Hopefully everything will come to a resolution soon and we could find a way to make better change. Including the NFL right now, who's definitely one of the main representatives right now with Roger Goodell. I remember almost a month ago them talking about how they need to do better as a league and how they got it wrong a long time ago. And let's dive right into it. Like one of the first significant news here on the opening drive. It was reported by Jeff Hartman of DK Pittsburgh Sports that not only is the preseason cut in half, but the supplemental draft has been canceled as well. And as it pertains for the Pittsburgh Steelers, with their schedule, the 2 games that will be canceled for them will be the dates of August the 14th and September 3rd, which is usually Labor Day weekend right there. So those games that they'll be canceled will be playing at home against the Bucks and being on the road against the Panthers, which they usually end their preseason on 9 times out of 10. So the games that they have slated on schedule for is August 23rd and August 28th against the Saints, and then in New York against the Jets, or New Jersey, I should say, excuse me. So those are the games right there. And according to multiple resources, the NFL has reportedly decided to cancel weeks 1 and 4 preseason. And, I mean, it's been a lot of tough decisions right there. And another thing that may be significant, maybe not so much with the Steelers, but around the NFL, there's going to be no supplemental draft this year. And usually the supplemental draft right there is really, which has been in existence since 1977. Pretty much it's for dedicated for players who could not make the regular NFL draft due to some eligible restriction that they may have been facing at that point in time. So they usually have another draft, a supplemental draft, which is usually around like August, around there. And that's one thing to go show you. And you look at the continuous spikes in the COVID-19, I mean, around North American sports as everyone tries to make a comeback. I mean, you look at the NBA right now, who has definitely been one of the biggest pushers as well, too, trying to resume and finish their season. And just trying to do these bubble environments with trying to protect the athletes and staff in a lot of ways. But, I mean, it's just, I mean, no matter where you go, it's like the interaction amongst people, I guess, around. And it's not like they're not testing everybody on a daily basis. They are. But you cannot help be a little bit concerned. I mean, the thing is with this COVID-19, like we've been hearing from a lot of people and a lot of medical experts, I mean, it's one thing for like people who are younger, like in their 20s, to not really have to worry about as much as far as being this thing out. The biggest thing you also got to look at too, as we continue to take notice, is the people who are older, I mean, in their adult life and are about a generation or two older than the younger generation right there, who may have some pre-existing health conditions and that could probably be more exposed to this thing. One of the biggest solutions that the NFL is especially been trying to do too, they're trying to compensate with having lesser fans in there and attendance, is trying to have like sponsors like fill in for like the tarpets of like the seating section. Because since you're not going to have like too many people like ground level or whatever, I mean, I guess they're trying to fill it up with some sponsor banners over the seats, try and make it stand out a little bit more. Because as we know too, I mean, one of the biggest things too, like it or not, unfortunately, is how much money at stake this is going to be at. The NFL, I mean, definitely right now, for a team who is progressively enough to sign their CBA back in March around St. Patrick's Day weekend, I mean, they're looking at it as still as business as usual. And, I mean, you look at it with the Hall of Fame, too, as we learned last week, too. I mean, that's going to be canceled for this season, but they plan on doing next August, as a matter of fact, with a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And we're going to get into that right now. That is going to be next August 7th and the 8th. You're going to have basically the Hall of Fame game that was supposed to be scheduled this year. And instead, it's going to be played on August 6th, that Thursday of 2021. Pending everything gets clearance. I mean, as long as we don't see any continuous rise with this virus, who knows? But then you're going to be having the ceremonies for the Hall of Fame. The class of 2020 will be inducted and enshrined on August 7th, on the Saturday. That'll be including the Centennial class, from what I understood. So you're going to have all those people, expanded class, all in one day. And then the next day, you're going to have the class of 2021. So that's where we stand at right now. And there you have it. I think right now, speaking of which, right now, I think just a supplemental draft, I'm not sure how much that impacts like the Steelers in a way. I mean, right now, you gotta just remember the biggest thing is too, like what we've been hearing. If there is a wipeout of this season, or this season is not able to finish, and the future ramifications for this league, I mean, how much that's going to be affecting the infrastructure of the salary cap for next season? Because the Steelers, who are definitely the top teams who spend close to the cap limit, they could be a lot more in trouble, where you may have to see this team get blown up a little bit. You may have to part ways with a lot of guys. Once again, just to recap for anyone doing it, if anyone wants to know what's going to be at stake as far as like free agents for next season, unrestricted free agents. You got a total of 18 players, which includes 8 starters. Obviously, the top 2, I mean, being Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner. And I think James Conner is definitely, I think, like an interesting one in this because you talk about COVID right now, and you talk about sickness. I mean, he's been cancer-free for a long time, but who's to say for a guy like him who's actually beat stuff like this out, I mean, may go through some health issues this season. I still got to believe in some ways he's got to be somewhat of a red flag for this team. A guy who has a lot to play for this season. Definitely a tough, strong-willed character at the end of the day. But the biggest difference and concern has been longevity and durability. Especially when taking some hits that's going to rail him. And we just do not know how that's going to be. I mean, this is a guy who's trying to really sway people that he could still be the guy for this team and be the running back. That's one of the positions that has been valued for this franchise for quite a while. I just feel like him versus Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is definitely, obviously, he's definitely not proven to be a number 1 wide receiver just yet. But still, I mean, he's still like, he needs the help around him. He's still like probably like that Scottie Pippen type of like wide receivers. I don't think he's like a guy that's meant to be a star of his team. But when he is around people, he'll go and make his risky plays or his clutch plays, his grabs. They'll do anything to contribute. I just don't see how this is going to really be much. Because remember, I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, he played in the slot, I believe, the last year when he was with Antonio Brown. I just feel like those two definitely got a lot. And then you also got to look at a guy like Cam Hayward, a guy who's going to be playing his 10th season. I mean, a guy who really had his last huge payday back in 2015, 5 years ago. Signed a 6-year extension, which, by the way, runs out after this season. And you got to believe right now, as far as like what the Steelers are going to do, because there's still a lot of people concerned, even like with a guy like Mike Tomlin right now. I mean, there's been a lot of patience running thin on this guy. Slowly, after their last Super Bowl appearance back in 2010. I mean, well, I'll say that a little bit more further in fairness. I'll say more so when they got eliminated by the Denver Broncos back in 2011, that first round exit, that wild game. It was around the time where Ben Roethlisberger finished off the season gimpy after injuring himself against the Browns, still able to finish the season, but obviously definitely some damaged goods going in. He was still limited in some positions. And playing without the supporting running back in that playoff, without Rashard Mendenhall, didn't help much matters right there. So I got to believe ever since then, there has been doubt on him. I mean, there'll still be some people making the argument that he did it with most of Cowher's players that were drafted. But I mean, at the same time, there's something to be said not having a losing season at all for the tenure of him being a head coach. Not only retort to that, I mean, when you look at him as being a Steeler coach in this franchise, I think there's still a difference. I mean, yeah, Cowher has had 3 losing seasons at this point in time through 13 seasons, which would be the 2004 season if we're going to be par right now with the 2. Both had the 2 Super Bowls, that's about a check. I just feel like the biggest difference at the end of the day when I analyze and I look at that is just that I think Cowher was just a better voice than Tomlin was. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he went through 3 losing seasons. There's no escaping that. He's had a losing record when it came to AFC championship games. where he has lost. He lost 4 games, only won 2, so he had a 2-4 record in there. Well, you got a guy like Mike Tomlin, on the other hand, who's 2-1 in that area. I just feel right now it still continues to be a little bit of a observation how he could do this in his own image and finally take this team to the next level. Have that second Super Bowl ring, and just to say that you're able to do it finally, I mean, despite all the controversy, despite all the adversity, you're able to have it in your own image. And just erase any doubt that, that it wasn't fluke years that you went to those 2 Super Bowls. I definitely feel like it's got to be some vindication for him in his career. Obviously, he's not going to admit that. I mean, knowing the character he is, but you darn sure believe right now. I mean, like they say in Pittsburgh, the standard is always going to be the standard when it comes to having consistent winning success, being in the playoffs on a consistent level, and delivering Lombardis. And I had this argument with some friends of mine and some hosts too this past Friday, Kenneth Davis of the D and Davis show. And I know I went in a history mode on him, but you have to understand too, for this franchise, this organization, I mean, I still hear some people telling me it's like, get ready to go through a lot of losing periods if the team decides to move on from Mike Tomlin, or if he decides to move on his own accord. My thing is, Steelers as an organization, they already kind of been through that technically. They went for that for at least, remember, before Chuck Noll turned around, 40 years, over 4 decades of losing seasons. He had 1 playoff appearance in that time with 0 playoff victories. I mean, that's one thing that Chuck Noll was the first able to do. And when he had the longest playoff streak, 8 consecutive seasons from 1972 from 1979, and you made it 4 other times after your team started to fall apart, the Steel Curtain Dynasty. And when you look at like Bill Cowher, what he was able to do, as frustrating as that time was, from the 80s up until the time that Chuck Noll decided to step away, he was definitely feeling some pressure under the gun at that time, no doubt about it. It wasn't too enthused with the new coaching characters that were on the scene that seemed to be a little bit being on TV. He never liked advertising his strategy, but he was a frustrated man. He was a guy that was winded, and he was ready to just finally ride off into the sunset. The only thing what happened was with a guy like Cowher, who grew up in Pittsburgh, and he watched it at times. Remember, he also played in this league as a player for the Eagles and the Browns. He brought back life into the franchise that they had in a while. That'd be like for the Lakers going from, like, you could say, like, Pat Riley to, like, Phil Jackson in a way. And I just feel, or like Del Harris, you could say, before it got to Phil Jackson. My thing is, with Bill Cowher, where I still give him the edge, probably like over Tomlin, at the end of the day, he knew how get in guys' face and, like, stop nonsense from happening. Granted, he did not have the same magnitude of players that Mike Tomlin had to put up with. When you dealt with a case with a guy like Antonio Brown, who did a lot more things. And I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin never got his players' attention. I believe he did. But there's a difference where it translates into, like, hey, it's like, I need to see some guys' heads being pulled out of their asses and, like, try and be a little bit more counterproductive, especially when they're being threatened in competition. Winning big games. I think just the only other indictment that goes against him, and he shares this with Ben Roethlisberger in a way, is just that you've had this offensive talent for like at least a good period of 6 years with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. And you couldn't get back to the Super Bowl and win with that talent around you. And they felt like he should at least have at least two or three more Super Bowls right there. Possibly. I mean, at least two. But I just feel like people are starting to look at it was just a failed window that was not taken advantage of. And then, how can you fold like that? So does it really boil down to characters in that situation? Yeah, I just want to say thank you for those of you who are taking the time to tune in. I see the eyeballs popping up here. Thank you very much. We're live on the Metal Steel Podcast. Me, Charles, Prodigy, Richey. If you guys want to dial in and share me some thoughts on the phone lines are open. It is 312-209-2232 is the number to be reached. If you guys want to get on the phone lines here and pop me any concerns you have right now, whether it's about COVID, or you're concerned, or if you want to share something exciting and positive, what's your plans for the 4th right now? I hope everyone is doing well right now, peacefully enjoying their summers, as we try to address a lot more of a mess that has been happening around us on top of the race issues. And I hope that we could definitely get some resolve here and better change for a lot of people. Going blacks right now who are definitely in need support and lockstep. So let's get into it. The interview that was the story that was written by Ed Bouchette of The Athletic, how Bill Cowher and his wife Veronica caught COVID-19 back around March 12th, close to the middle of March. And what happened was they were out to see Lindsay's husband, who was a former NBA player, Ryan Kelly. They were supposed to see him play in the NBA's B League in Japan, Japan's B League, excuse me. And this guy right here, I believe he played for the Lakers at one point, I want to say. Pretty much their season, once the virus was spreading, it pretty much got canceled around that time in March. So instead, I think they ended up going to Honolulu, where their daughter, Lindsay, decided to catch up with them and meet them over there. And right around the time when he was coming back home, he said when he was in the airport between New York and New Jersey, dealing with people, I think it was around that time, like him and his wife were going out eating. They brought some flowers to bring back for their Manhattan suite in New York. And remember, Bill Cowher's a New York native. One of the simplest signs that he even said that he remembered was that he could not smell like the actual flowers. I mean, right there. Or even something that Veronica was cooking. I mean, where they had some, they couldn't taste the ginger. One of the signs that Cowher and his wife, Veronica, that they were experiencing was the symptoms were shaky joints, a slight fever for Cowher, and a dry cough for his wife. And then inability to smell lilies or taste the ginger. Right now, everybody has been doing fine. Bill Cowher does point, like I said, when he was at the airport, when he got in New York, he felt coming into Newark Airport, he believes that's where the virus was coming from, Europe, and there was no shutdown. And there was also people around that time too in Honolulu coming from China, and in Newark, they were coming from Europe. it's quite possible a lot of those signs right there were tied around there. I mean, as you imagine the filtration of this virus. And one of the biggest things, too, what we look at, I mean, obviously, I mean, we need to be a lot more wiser when it comes to wearing our masks for our own safety and benefit not just for ourselves, but for others around us, but more importantly, ourselves, too. Because you just don't know. And the best, wisest thing you got to do, if you got an opportunity to get yourself a free checkup, please go take the time to get yourself checked out. Everyone wants to make sure we're doing okay. And obviously, this is the most horrific of times when you got everything that has been going on. I mean, not just race, but also, too, one other thing, too. Bill Cowher also had a comment to say, as far as like the enshrinement of the Hall of Fame ceremony. He said he was definitely relieved in some ways with the enshrinement ceremony, because he definitely said that right now, because it just wouldn't have felt like the right moment at this time to be speaking, especially when you got everything going on in society. Oh, here we go. Here's the actual quote. I'm really kind of relieved, Cowher said of the postponement. As much as you want to be reflective, talk about the people who are so instrumental in your life, now is not the time. Not just with COVID-19, but with the social justice issues. These are very transparent times, and it's so fluid. The Hall of Fame needs to be reflective. I'm glad it's still going to be Dallas and Pittsburgh playing, which is great. I think right now it's just hard to really think about anything celebratory when the country's in the state it is. End quote. I mean, since retiring, I mean, aside, remember the initial plan was to, remember, he said his health of his original wife, who passed away 10 years ago towards the end of this month, Kate Cowher. I mean, that was one of the things, too, that really hit home for him. He was not in the best of health, moods, or spirits at that time, ever since he stepped away from the game. Remember, they had Holman and Riley, and shortly about 3.5 years later, after his retirement, and when he was doing his job, his studio analyst gig at CBS Sports, he lost his wife in the summer of 2010. And that's just heartbreaking right there. I mean, you feel for a guy, but at the same time, I look at a guy right here who's definitely truly lived a true life in the image of God. When you look at all the blessings he has, the way he's interacted with people, the way he's dealt with teammates around. And I don't know if anyone's got a chance to see yesterday, he put up a tweet. I think it was maybe 2 days ago, maybe off on this, but he was talking about the thing on social justice. And one of the things that he pointed out in there is accountability. Because even when he had to deal with that as a coach, and I think that is so important to let that sink in. I am all for change, but at the same time, too, I mean, accountability, I think it's definitely got to come both ways. Obviously, we don't want to make things worse than what they are, but I feel like working together, spreading the awareness around, we can definitely change a lot of things. But like I said, it's one thing to always point a finger at this stuff. It's another to pass blame and then to not accept it at the same time. But I mean, again, that's a conversation for a whole nother day. I mean, it's a lot of things that are going on. And it's really not fair to say that. I just feel that we have to take it one step at a time and be patient for the change. Obviously, I want to see people continue to speak out and spot out if there's anything screwy happening. Nobody wants to be feel like you're going for a dictatorship, but at the same time, too, I think you're definitely more. The more we unite on this thing, the more we continue to speak out and understand people's concerns from an outsider perspective, that's how you're going to get it done little by little. But as far as like with Bill Cowher too, and also too, he was also saying as far as like the NFL, on if it's going to be playing or not, like a season, will they be played this fall? And he says, I mean, there's so much anxiety and worry about what's next to do the right thing because it varies from state to state. Cowher said, testing will be everything. Make sure the fans feel comfortable and safe. More importantly, the players. Even if it doesn't involve fans, maybe what we can do is be able to still see it on TV. But testing will come down to being everything as it comes to playing a season this season. And as far as about pulling off, he definitely has his doubts. I mean, he's definitely in support of saying that players had to be feeling comfortable with the season moving forward. And I think that's the biggest key in this whole thing. It has to be comfortable. I mean, it's just like anything when you're going through anything else, anything you're seeking, where it's like clothes or your own personal desires. The shoe has to fit all around for everybody, so to speak. Yeah, I'm sorry, Vegas. I just been starting at a late night. I'm doing fine. I'm sorry about that, guys. But I'm from like the south side of Chicago in the U.S. here. And thank you for definitely joining me here on the Man Steel podcast. I just feel like right now what we gotta look at is just that for right now with this, it's everybody has to be comfortable with it. And the biggest thing is too, I mean, how much is consulting is being done with the executives and the Players Association? And those are all key things with that. So let's get ready to get into fair or foul right now to wrap things up. Will there be any games played this preseason August? Fair or foul? Also left a poll on here. I would like to hear your thoughts on the poll right now. Feel free to leave me some votes right now. If you guys feel like there's going to be any preseason at all coming up, I'm going to have to say for right now, foul. I mean, we still got to take the thing one moment at a time before we get through one day at a time. But I mean, again, I think the biggest thing is I would like to hear how the Players Association is communicating with the league, the owners, and the commissioner as far as like how they're going to try and pull this off. And the interesting thing is too, because like even Cowher made another value point in all this is just that what happens if like your star quarterback on roster gets the virus, and then you have like other people around you, like your other quarterbacks, to say, no, I don't want to like risk being out there, and it doesn't feel too safe for me to give this a try. That's going to be a lot of things for everybody. I mean, how much is this chain reaction going to be? I just feel when you got this going on, you have to be a lot more cognizant of the fact that, I mean, no matter how much you plan, risks are still risks at the end of the day. And that's what we got to think about for right now. I mean, is the NFL or like other sports, especially the NFL, being too pushy with trying to conduct business as usual, yet alone when you got everything else going on, and how you're able to try and wipe your hands off this and feel like it's nothing? It's definitely something. It's not anything we can just sweep under the carpet just like that and ignore. It still comes down about trust. I mean, with everyone around involved. And not just better plan, but I mean, the other thing is too, I mean, are they going to consider increasing the roster a little bit more, being a little bit more flexible as the season goes on when we got something like this? Can we honestly say that that will be tweaked at these times? And another thing I would like to think about this too, in addition to that, I mean, since we're all doing like these online virtual meetings where it's like a FaceTime, a Zoom, or even like what you're seeing me doing right now, like on Instagram. My thing is, how are the coaches? Are you going to have the coaches? Are you going to like put them in the place where these banners will be covered up the stand? And they be in the skybox along with the offensive, defensive coordinators? That's one thing I would like to know. If they could do that, I mean, does your coach have to be on the sideline with you? Can you still communicate via the headset? Or would you be able to FaceTime with one another on the sidelines through a tablet? How's that going to be like? Because you have to think of it like this. They're going to still be having at least over 100 bodies on the field available, where it's on the sideline or the starting lineup, depending how you mix it up. But, and I still get on the video chat, can I Skype my coach? You know, if I can't utilize the headset when it comes to like timeouts or pregame activities. Does the coach have to be on the sideline for that reason? Then another thing is too, I think you're working in with that too, is like how you're going to communicate if you got to do with hand signals where you're trying to fool opposing teams, when you're trying to fool people and strategies and crunch time moments of games. I would like to see those situations right there. I would think it's going to be a lot more different with the crowd level not being around. However, I mean, if we're really concerned about having these guys pull off the season, I think it's going to happen only because, like I told a few people, is that there's too much at stake and a lot to be at risk with this go down the tubes. There's a lot more financial ramifications for not only the business operation, but the players, how much they're risking. I mean, yeah, they got their CBA already taken care of, but what kind of twist could come back at them? As far as like the money they will be losing, or rookies too, does that matter? I mean, not so much the veterans. I think the veterans will be all right in that area because since they already kind of been through the procedure back in the past. But still, I mean, they worked their butts off to get like a decent change here, if you want to call it that. But that's what I feel is going to happen right there. So that's going to do it for this tonight's edition here of the Metal Steel Podcast. I just want to say thank you for those of you who actually took time to join in right there. And like I said, excuse me with the eyes right here. I just started a little bit late, so I apologize for that. Just had some stuff focusing on. But definitely will be in touch with Brian DR, though. Me and him were actually trying to reschedule in due time, hopefully in a future show by next week, just give everybody an update. But anyway, if you guys want to follow me on social media, once again, I can be followed on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter at Prodigy Richey, at OnDeckCSR. That's for Twitter and Instagram for those two handles. The Metal Steel Podcast on Twitter is at Metal Steel CPR and at Metal Steel Nation on Instagram. As I always leave you, if everything, don't be trolling, be rolling. I gone.